How did you end up here in the Provo area of Utah?
We just moved here from California. So I originally grew up in San Diego County. And due to my dad getting a job, he moved the family out here. The pull being there's family here, there's a community that we align with a lot. And I think the push away was from California. I think it's a great place, but I think it's expensive and a lot of different other factors that contribute. So I have an aunt that lives up just that way. I have another aunt that lives down the other way, more south. And so I think that just a lot of good family everywhere, good support system.
Anything or anyone or any objective that you feel you can look back on and say, that's a really positive thing in my life, or was a very positive thing?
I moved around a lot, like different schools. I feel like we moved houses every 2 years my entire life. So finally being able to kind of settle down from my high school years and even then still bounce back and forth between two different high schools, I think is the friends. It's not like a singular objective thing. Like I didn't climb Mount Everest, or wasn't the youngest dude to climb Squaw Peak or anything. But if I were to die today, I think I'd look back and say the friends I have and the people that surround me that aren't related to me, I played such an important role in my life that I look back at that and it honestly gives me goosebumps. It warms my heart. I'm just grateful for that. I'm grateful for that so far in my life.
Was it the fact that you got ripped away before you had a chance to really, establish friendships through time and effort? Or do you think the vibe of the schools that you were at just didn't happen? And here, particularly for some reason, there was like a community that happened faster with?
Based off kind of the way I grew up and moving around so much, I think, especially here in the Utah Valley, there's a lot of this kind of feeling of people that have grown up in the same neighborhood and gone to school together since they were in first grade. And that camaraderie, and they call it like that clique, is very hard to infiltrate and get a part of if you weren't originally a part of it, right? Yep. And so I feel like for me, bouncing back and forth between schools, I was kind of seen as the guy that had no roots or no base with anyone, and I was the freelander, right? Which is kind of a red flag for everyone. Yeah. But luckily, my sophomore year, I was able to actually kind of get taken under a wing by one of my closest friends. I see him more as a brother now today. His name's Sam. And due to that one man's friendship towards me and kind of like bringing me in, I think that changed the entire outlook of the rest of my life, because now my entire friend circle is people that he introduced me through. So I think I kind of caught a lucky break, because I know people aren't that lucky that have to bounce around to school so much and don't have a constant. But yeah, looking back at it, I think that's kind of what made it originally hard. Sure. Was I didn't grow up in the same neighborhood my whole life, I go to the same school and get on the same basketball team and play with the same player. Like I was always the new kid. What does this guy have to offer? Is he gonna be cool? Always had to present myself, and always, didn't have that base. Yep. But then after I got it and graduated and I have a bunch of friends, I think it's really something to look back at and be grateful for.
What was one thing about being so transient for a while that was positive? Could you think of one positive aspect of that?
We're built for trouble. I think we're built for uncomfortable situations. I think if a man had everything, we would still make life uncomfortable for ourselves just to keep like an element of something, like keep us on our toes. And I think if I had to find a positive, there was no being comfortable, or there was no, every new year was a time to push myself again, because I wanted to get on the basketball team where the players all knew each other for 10, 15 years, or, I want to talk to this girl, yada, 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 and then she's already, I don't know, the social situation, the social dynamic. There's so much that keeps you on your toes, where I feel like moving around that much has kind of built me into the person I am today, and kind of helped my character become, more confident or more aware or more social, almost because I was forced to, I guess you could say. So,
do you have any advice for people that are like going into a new place on how to integrate with that community?
Yeah.
They end up, is there anything that you learned on that life journey you've had so far?
100%. My biggest thing, and if it sounds cliche, great, it still stands true, is you gotta always be yourself. And I think I can learn from experiences when I wasn't myself, trying to be someone who I wasn't, and when I actually really was myself. Is I think the friend who I gained today, who's my closest friend, I was only able to gain that friendship because I finally switched to, I'm just gonna be myself. And then that's what gravitated at least the one true friend, rather than when I was someone trying to be someone who I wasn't. Sure, I got a lot of friends, and I thought it was cool on the basketball team, but it wasn't genuine. And so I think if you go into a new place and you can set yourself from the beginning to always be yourself no matter what, and worst case scenario, it doesn't gravitate the people you think you want, it'll at least, I want to say, eventually get you the things that you actually genuinely want, like deep down, if that makes sense.
There's always that challenge sometimes, like when you don't fit in
you're like, oh, should I change myself to be more like the people around, or should I remain true to who I am and allow that social filter to find the right person in that group?
Exactly.
It's like,
yeah, you said it better than I did. I think that sums it up perfectly. You got to stay true to yourself. That's all. Exactly. That's all it is they'll at least love you for who you genuinely are, rather than someone who you're not. So you can at least sleep at night with that, even if it's one person, one friend.
If you could cut your age in half as you are right now, give a piece of advice to that younger self, what would you tell that person?
I mean, that's a really deep question, and in all transparency, I've actually thought about that a lot. My therapist actually asked me that, and I really have come to like a sort of peace where there's so much hurt and there was so much pain in the past, but I don't think I would go back and try to prepare myself any more than I was, just because I think that experience was so needed, and I love who I am today, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. So I think the advice I would give myself 10 years ago, if I had to talk to him, is just be like, hey man, you were loved. Keep doing your thing. I love you. I'm proud of you. Just words of support, but no direct. I wouldn't tell him to go invest in GameStop or anything like that. But I would just say, stay true to yourself, man. You are loved. So
Awesome. Those are words of
that's what it is.
Thank you very much.
Of course.
That.